Hi, this is Gareth Hines, and today I want to talk to you about probably the most difficult page out of my entire new graphic novel of the Iliad. This book is 270 pages long and it's filled with complicated battle scenes and crowd scenes, but the most difficult page of all is this page that depicts the armor of Achilles. So, for those who don't know the story yet, Achilles is one of the main characters, and at a certain point in the story, he gets this new armor made for him by the god of blacksmithing, Hephaestus. And Hephaestus uses all of his supernatural skill to make this armor not only incredibly strong, but also incredibly beautiful. And he emblazons all of these scenes on it from Greek life. And Homer describes the shield at great length. He actually takes about 4 pages of description of all those different scenes that Hephaestus has carved into the face of the shield. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to zoom into this shield and I'm going to show you my depictions of all of these scenes as I read to you from a slightly abridged Robert Fagel's translation of this description by Homer. All right, here we go. First, Hephaestus made a great and massive shield, raising a rim around it, glittering triple ply, with 5 layers of metal to build the shield itself, and across its vast expanse, with all his craft and cunning, the god created a world of gorgeous, immortal work. There he made the earth and the sky and sea and the inexhaustible blazing sun and the moon rounding full, and there the constellations, all that crown the heavens, the Pleiades and the Hyades, Orion in all his power too, and the great bear that mankind also calls the wagon. And he forged on the shield 2 noble cities, filled with mortal men, with weddings and wedding feasts in one, and under glowing torches they brought forth the brides from the women's chambers, marching through the streets, while choir on choir the wedding song rose high, and the young men came dancing, whirling round in rings. And the people massed, streaming into the marketplace, where a quarrel had broken out, and 2 men struggled over the blood price for a kinsman just murdered. One declaimed in public, vowing payment in full. The other spurned him, he would not take a thing. So both men pressed for a judge to cut the knot. The crowd cheered on both, as the city elders sat on polished stone benches, forming the sacred circle, and each leapt to his feet to plead the case in turn. 2 bars of solid gold shone on the ground before them, a prize for the judge who'd speak the straightest verdict. But circling the other city camped a divided army, gleaming in battle gear, and 2 plans split their ranks, to plunder the city, or share the riches with its people, hoards the handsome citadel stored within its depths. But the people were not surrendering, not at all. They armed for a raid, hoping to break the siege. Loving wives and innocent children standing guard on the ramparts, flanked by elders bent with age, as men marched out to war. Ares and Pallas led them, both burnished gold, gods for all the world, looming up in their brilliance, towering over troops. And once they reached the perfect spot for attack, a watering place where all the herds collected, there they crouched, wrapped in glowing bronze, waiting to spot a convoy, the enemy's flocks and crooked-horned cattle coming. Come they did, quickly, 2 shepherds behind them, playing their hearts out on their pipes. Treachery never crossed their minds, but the soldiers saw them, rushed them, cut off at a stroke the herds of oxen and sleek sheep flocks. Now the besiegers rode hard to the rescue, arrived at once, and lining up for assault, both armies battled it out along the riverbanks. They raked each other with hurtling bronze-tipped spears, and strife and havoc plunged in the fight and violent death. And he forged a fallow field, broad, rich ploughland, tilled for the 3rd time, and across it crews of ploughmen wheeled their teams, driving them up and back. And soon as they'd reached the end strip, moving into the turn, a man would run up quickly and hand them a cup of honeyed mellow wine, as the crews would turn back down along the furrows, pressing again to reach the end of the deep fallow field, and the earth churned black behind them. Like earth churning, solid gold as it was, that was the wonder of Hephaestus' work. And he forged a king's estate, where harvesters labored, reaping the ripe grain, swinging their whetted scythes. Some stalks fell in line with the reapers row on row, and others the sheaf binders, girdled round with ropes. 3 binders standing over the sheaves, behind them boys gathering up the cut swaths, filling their arms, supplying grain to the binders, endless bundles. And there in the midst the king, scepter in hand, at the head of the reaping rows, stood tall in silence, rejoicing in his heart. And off to the side, beneath a spreading oak, the heralds were setting out the harvest feast, while attendant women poured out barley, generous, glistening handfuls strewn for the reaper's midday meal. And he forged a thriving vineyard loaded with clusters, bunches of lustrous grapes in gold, ripening deep purple, and climbing vines shot up on silver vine poles. And round the ditch he staked a fence in tin, and one lone footpath led toward the vineyard, and down it the pickers ran, whenever they went to strip the grapes at vintage, girls and boys, their hearts leaping in innocence, bearing away the sweet ripe fruit in wicker baskets. And there among them a young boy plucked his lyre, so clear it could break the heart with longing, and what he sang was a dirge for the dying year, lovely, his fine voice rising and falling low, as the rest followed, all together, frisking, singing, shouting, their dancing footsteps beating out the time. And he forged on the shield a herd of longhorn cattle, working the bulls in beaten gold and tin, lowing loud and rumbling out of the farmyard dung to pasture along a rippling stream, along the swaying reeds. And the golden drovers kept the herd in line, 4 in all, with 9 dogs at their heels, their paws flickering quickly. A savage roar, a crashing attack, and a pair of ramping lions had seized a bull from the cattle's front ranks. He bellowed out as they dragged him off in agony. Packs of dogs and the young herdsmen rushed to help, but no use. The hounds shrank from sinking teeth in the lions. They balked, hunching close, barking, cringing away. And the famous crippled smith forged a meadow, deep in a shaded glen, for shimmering flocks to graze, with shepherds' steadings, well-roofed huts, and sheepfolds. And the crippled smith brought all his art to bear on a dancing circle, broad as the circle Daedalus once laid out on Knossos' spacious fields, for Ariadne, the girl with lustrous hair. Here young boys and girls, beauties courted with costly gifts of oxen, danced and danced, linking their arms, gripping each other's wrists. And the girls wore robes of linen light and flowing. The boys wore fine-spun tunics rubbed with a gloss of oil. And now they would run in rings on their skilled feet, nimbly, quick as a crouching potter spins his wheel, palming it smoothly, giving it practiced twirls to see it run. And now they would run in rows crisscrossing rows, rapturous dancing. A breathless crowd stood round them, struck with joy, and through them a pair of tumblers dashed and sprang, whirling in leaping handsprings, leading on the dance. And he forged the ocean river's mighty power, girdling round the outmost rim of the welded, indestructible shield. And once the god had made that great and massive shield, he made Achilles a breastplate, brighter than gleaming fire. He made him a sturdy helmet to fit the fighter's temples, beautiful burnished work, and raised its golden crest and made him greaves of flexing pliant tin. Now, when the famous crippled smith had finished off that grand array of armor, lifting it in his arms, he laid it all at the feet of Achilles' mother, Thetis. And down she flashed like a hawk from snowy Mount Olympus, bearing the brilliant gear, the god of fire's gift. So there you go. It's beautiful poetry. It's also incredibly rich, detailed information about life in the Bronze Age. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you will enjoy the rest of my book, The Iliad, from Candlewick Press. Thanks so much for watching.